Welcome back to the Clerc podcast show. Great to be here in Osseo, Minnesota. Is that how you pronounce it? Or is it, I couldn't know if it was Osseo or Osseo.
We hear Osseo quite a bit.
Osseo. Okay, we got it right. Colin and I here, first time coming up this way in the cities for a podcast. So great to be here at Seeing Clean, Inc. with Nate and Craig. And great to have you guys on, first of all. Thank you so much for letting us come up and do the podcast here.
You're welcome. Yeah,
this is going to be a really interesting one for people who don't know. Nate and Craig do a crime scene cleanup company where they go to a crime scene after it happens and then clean up. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, at the crime scene, the police are there and everything. But when everything's said and done, the police don't clean it up for you. You got to find that person on your own. And that's where you guys come in. So, Nate, why don't you kind of start by telling us a little bit how you got into this? I know you were a former EMT. How did this whole thing start, and how do you kind of come up with this company?
Sure. Well, yeah, the idea started when I was a paramedic here in the cities, and it was actually one particular call that I went to was ended up being a double homicide, and I'd never seen so much blood before. So that was where the idea started. That hey, who cleans this stuff up? So I did a little research and realized that there really wasn't a lot of companies that did it at that time, anyway.
Yeah.
So started thinking about it. That was about 2007, and and I got out of EMS in 2010 and started the business in 2012.
Did you get out of EMS just to start the company because it was taking so much time?
No, it was my time. It was, that's a really stressful career. Not that this isn't, but just seeing the suffering, I could tell I was starting to suffer for some PTSD and just getting worn out, coming home upset and tired every day. So it was time to be done.
So for this line, I kind of talked about it before the podcast started, but there's really no schooling or there's no training for this. It's just kind of you take your former experience and you apply it to this, because you were talking about, Craig, there's a license you have to have, and you guys can't go to Iowa or you can't go to South Dakota and do this. Do you have to get registered or licensed so that you can do this only in Minnesota, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's different, every state's got different regulations. So OSHA, the federal agency, regulates our industry as far as what training specific to our industry that we need to take.
Gotcha.
So there is some training that's required. And then each state has different requirements with like disposal of medical waste, if there's any particular classes or trainings they want you to do.
Yeah.
We stay in Minnesota primarily because of the DOT regulations. Crossing state lines with vehicles gets tricky, but more so the bringing hazardous or biohazardous waste into Minnesota becomes a whole new set of rules. So it's just easier for us to say we're staying in the state. We can go into Wisconsin to do non-biohazardous jobs.
Gotcha.
30 miles.
Like a hoarding or something.
Right. Yeah, we have a 30-mile radius that we can go into, but we don't market to Wisconsin. We're close, but we try and stay in Minnesota.
Wow. And Craig, how did because you weren't part of the company from the beginning, right? You've kind of joined now, but you said you've had an experience. You worked for a prior company doing this.
One of the companies that had been doing it before he was, one of the only smaller that was doing it before he started. I was with them not too long ago, but the owner of that one kind of fell into it as well. If you want his story, he actually had a friend that committed suicide.
Wow.
And the mother said, well, you're his friend, can you help me clean it up? And he's like, okay, and he kind of did that. And then another person's child or kid also shot himself, and he said, well, I know a person that cleaned up this person, maybe you can see if he wants to do it. And so he's like, okay. And so he did that, and then another one happened.
Wow.
And then he's like, somebody said, well, he's done a couple of them, and so he didn't. So he thought, well, maybe I should get paid for this. And he kind of looked into it and decided insurance would cover this, if it was done in a house. So homeowners insurance would cover it. So he did a cleanup for one, and then submitted it he just threw a number, he said $10,000, and they paid it.
Wow.
And he's like, wow. And then he looked, there was nothing really going on. This was back in 92.
Oh, wow.
92,
Dang.
yeah.
Wow.
And so he started doing it, did a couple more, and just kind of started getting his name out there, and that's how he started. And then he hired me about 5 years ago, a little bit more than that, actually to be a project manager, because they also did stuff on the side as well. And then they asked me to come along on a job that think my first one was a suicide where a guy just 2 or 3 hours of us being out there had done it. And I went with them because they were kind of short-staffed.
Yeah.
And the main person wanted me to come with, and I handled it pretty good. And I got my taste quite a bit of the right away because it was the guy used a shotgun. He pointed it towards the kitchen and blew up pretty much his entire head, which is pretty common when you use a certain kind of shotgun. A lot of times we hear that there's nothing left of the head.
Wow.
And so this person used pellets, and so he went towards the kitchen, shot in, pellets blew out the stove. And so I'm there sweeping. So a lot of times when the paramedics come to pick the body, whatever, they grab the majority of the pieces, what they can, but obviously they don't search everywhere, and things can get hidden.
Yeah.
So things can fly everywhere. I mean, teeth, you can find those in the next room down the hall, 5 different turns. I mean, things like that, where those things go. But I was sweeping up the glass, and I thought it was a rag, a dish rag, that was hanging from, turned out to be about a good section, about this, 6 by 7 foot section of scalp.
Holy cow.
That was still there. It was like, oh, I mean, I'm holding this guy's scalp that just, 3-4 hours ago was wearing it on his head.
Yeah.
And like,
that's wild.
This is interesting. Obviously, so I had that, and then
It's crazy.
a piece of a skull was still in the pile as well, and that was about the same size.
How long does it take for a cleanup like that?
It really depends on the magnitude of what pretty much happened, how big the area is. Because when you get a shotgun blast, that stuff can go everywhere. I mean, brain, blood, skull, it can go in every direction. It can bounce off. And so you're really kind of limited to what area they did it. Like if they do it in a bathroom, it's just pretty much that bathroom. Unless the door was open, maybe it kind of went out. So this happened to be in the entryway.
Losing the headphones there.
I'm sorry. The entryway where it was wide open to the entire house.
Oh my
So you kind of do just like a CSI. You kind of see the spread go out where it starts, and then you just kind of work your way out and just, okay, where can this go? So we were there from 10 a.m. that day, and I think we stopped about 8 p.m. that night.
Wow.
Dang.
Just cleaning up everything.
One of the questions I had for you guys when you're going to do this stuff, you show up at a crime scene. The police have to give you the okay that you can start coming in and just cleaning up, right? Because you can't just go in when there's a body still there. They have to get their evidence and everything, right?
Yep.
So you get the clearance. Then you go in and you start examining everything. Do you guys use like black lights and stuff to find all of the residue? Or do you just get what you can pretty much see?
No, so I describe this to people as we go in, it's like peeling an onion. So there's layers to the onion, right? So we'll go in and we just keep peeling layers back on the house or wherever it is until we don't see any more evidence of any body fluids.
Gotcha.
Black lights wouldn't react to anything that we would need to clean up unless it's related to like cat pee. But no, it's literally just seeing the body fluids. We use an indicator that will react to bodily fluids. However, if you do it too much, it burns itself off, and then you lose sight of what you're trying to find. So,
Gotcha.
I wanted to back up 1 second. You had asked about more training, and I want people to know that it's really important. We at Scene Clean, we went through the extra step of getting ABRA certified, which is the American Biohazard Recovery Association, who they're trying to help regulate the industry, because frankly, this industry is like the Wild West right now.
Really?
It's not that old, and it's lacked a lot of regulations. And so they're trying to get every company in the country to be part of this and get regulations or help get regulations passed. And so with that, we went through the extra steps of taking the extra training and getting certified by them. And we're actually the only certified company in the state to do that. So
I saw that on your website.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. So.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to undermine anything. I was just curious if there was any kind of like school you can go to or something that, because you mentioned this is a newer like career.
Yep.
What were people doing in the 80s and 90s and
Families were just doing it. Families and friends. Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
The guy that actually trained me, he's one of the pioneers in the industry, and that's like he was reading the newspaper one day and he saw a tragedy and how he read about how the family cleaned it up, and that's where he got the idea. And that was back in sorry, Michael, if I'm wrong, but I want to say it was 87 or 88 that he was
You said that guy started his company in what, 92?
92, 93, somewhere in there. Yeah, I think it was.
But that's still new, though. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about it, I mean, people have been killing each other, and crimes have been going on since the
Right.
beginning of mankind.
Yep.
And the fact that it's like 30 years old, and not even that old, like that blows me away that there hasn't been something like this.
And I think a majority of the companies that are around right now that are like our size started maybe 2005 or later. I mean, we were
Around there.
2012.
Wow.
And there was nobody really servicing Minnesota. Plus, with my paramedic background,
Yeah.
I already had connections with public safety. So we started off with a bang for sure.
Yeah.
And it's still a challenge. I mean, like you said, there's murders and things happening all the time.
Yeah.
And we're, not that we're the only ones, but even when we get together and talk to other people, there is about the same number or less than we get. So the majority of them that are happening out there are being cleaned by the people that live there, whoever. And they're not getting reported. It's just they're taking care of themselves. So
That's crazy.
I would say we probably do 5% of what's actually going on out there.
Wow.
Because those are the people that actually, I don't want to do this. I mean, for the right reason. I mean, you don't want to clean up your kid's brains.
Yeah.
Just shot
Horrible.
himself. I mean, and that's what's so tough about it too. That's the toughest part is the suicides, is because a lot of them are young, a lot of them are kids, a lot could have been prevented. Just.
I think that just the reason for that, the biggest reason is people don't understand that insurance pays for these cleanups.
Yeah, they don't have to do anything.
Wow,
They just have to pay their deductible.
They think they got to do that themselves. They don't know these companies exist. So
Do the police tell them that the insurance will?
no, they don't say that, but some of our Metro's police departments will either pass along a list of the companies that do it, or actually give a name of a company. And
Yeah.
so the metro area itself, you guys are from rural Minnesota, and
Yep.
we don't do a ton of stuff in the rural areas, and I think a lot of that is because the sheriff's departments out there, the small town police departments, rarely ever deal with it, so they
No.
don't even know
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. Well, and you were talking about how there's like different crimes. So I didn't know that a crime scene, I thought a suicide was a crime scene. I wasn't aware that it wasn't a crime scene.
Technically, you're probably, in our eyes, it's not.
Okay, so there, different kinds of calls and stuff that come in. What are the typical things you guys would deal with on a week-to-week basis? Like you have your rare things, and then you have your more common. What's your most common call that comes in here?
The largest percentage of calls we do would be, I would say, they're hoarding related.
Oh,
That's
okay.
probably our bigger
Wow.
division.
And that's one you
there's
just more got into more as of late because, again, there's not a need for that.
yeah.
Until the TV show came out.
Yeah.
Hoarders, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't use that term, and
Oh, really?
mainly because it's they make it look as bad, sound bad as what it really is, and a lot of these people think that they're just lazy or what their reason that is, and there's usually an underlying reason to what they do.
Yeah.
It's not just they're just lazy and they just let their house go, or there's always some undermining thing that
Mental
they don't.
health piece, trauma. Usually, a lot of the people we find that there's a past trauma that was unresolved. Like the biggest ones we see: death, divorce,
Yeah.
maybe an abusive spouse.
Wow.
And so then that manifests itself into hoarding. So there's a lot more to the hoarding side of it than what TV portrays.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think they kind of wrap it up and bundle into a little quick TV show. I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like it's such a
Production
simple
quality,
issue.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
they
not a simple
add
issue.
stuff too. They asked us. You said
Yeah, there was a local guy that was on that show, and they actually brought stuff in
No
To
way.
make it look
to make
worse.
it look worse. So it was
Wow.
definitely produced.
That's legal. I mean, I can't imagine.
Yes, that guy had more traumas after that show. I know his therapist, and she was
crazy.
quite pissed.
And that's
Are
it
we
too.
able to swear in this podcast?
Of course
by
you
the
can
way?
swear. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Sweet.
We don't really, just because we can't try to keep a neutral stance on everything and just kind of keep it whatever. But we tell the guests you can say whatever you want.
Okay.
No one's limited. No one's
My
censored.
house, so I can just talk.
Yeah,
the way
exactly.
I want, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
we're in your house now, Nate.
I gotcha.
I do want to get into the hoarding piece, so we can wait for that later because I have so many questions about your other stuff. On your website, just under services, you have a huge variety of stuff on here. Some of these words I've never heard of before. What is an unattended death cleanup?
it's a decomposition where somebody has died and nobody's known for weeks, months.
Oh my gosh.
And I got a good story that has to do with that. I mean, that's
Let's hear
probably
it.
more of it, but I mean, obviously there's more drama in the other ones, like in a suicide or a homicide, but...
Yeah. Well, let's hear the story. I mean,
decom.
I'm,
This
I'm
wasn't through
interested.
here. This was the other place. And they're always worse in the summer.
Oh yeah, the heat.
Yep.
The smell is probably
Flies,
brutal.
actually, the
Oh.
flies
Flies
make
are-
it worse than anything.
If you
Oh yeah.
you smell a dead body, that stays with you.
Yeah.
So there was a place where I want to say it was in Columbia Heights, and a man was a hoarder actually too. I don't use the word hoarder, but he's already, he just had paths through his house. It was so bad. It was an apartment, so small, but he just had paths going from the door to his recliner, so you could see in front of it. But then, pretty much, he couldn't even use the rest of the house. But, there's little paths. The toilet had gotten completely stuffed up to where he wasn't using that. He was peeing into jugs, jars. He was shitting on top of each other. There were buckets,
Oh my
5-gallon buckets. He just stopped doing any of the things like that. Well, so it was about, I want to say March or April, they actually died in his chair. And that's a lot of times these decomps, people die in chairs or beds.
Yeah.
And so at that point in time, it was like the time where you didn't have air conditioner on and you didn't really have heat on.
Yeah.
Plus you're in an apartment. So it's regulated more to how it is outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when he died, it was probably 3 months later. It was in June or July, so it was like really the hottest time. And so a lot of times what happens is people know that either they haven't heard from him in a while, or a smell. So being in an apartment, smell is usually the first thing if nobody has heard from him. And so the downstairs neighbor came in one day to her dining room, turned on the lights, and it had a fan. And all the bile had gone through the ceiling and hit the fan, and she started feeling like some liquid hitting her face. Like, what is this? And she smelled it. And so then they found out up above, guy had died in his chair. Well, by the time we got there, the cops had, gone through and done it. Well, the little paths that you could walk through all either had puke through the whole thing because the smell was so bad that any of the cops that had walked through there prior, that the paramedics that had taken the body away, whatever pieces are left, because the body kind of, after so long, just explodes and just disintegrates. I mean, there's a lot of it that's not there, because if your cells just start dying, there's not much left. It doesn't stay together. That's why Walking Dead, could never happen. I was thinking, I love The Walking Dead. I kind of got out of it, but it's like, you go to the guys less than a week and they couldn't even move rather than walk or come up and bite you. So these bodies are just melted away. And so it was a horrific. So you had two things. You had to take care of the hoarding part of it just to get at the body. But then the body was there and it went through the 2 floors.
What did that chair look like? I mean, I just can't imagine what the...
You don't see a lot of it. I believe there was the maggots were underneath a lot of it. Where you don't see if you move the clothes away, but stuff if you move some of the cushions away, they go underneath there. Yeah. You can't tell because bio waste is different than blood because you start getting it's more clear and it kind of looks more fatty. Yeah. So it kind of gets sucked in to where it just looks like a chair, just like somebody doused in water almost. But you still it's brownish, it's things like that. So and really too, when a lot of decomps happen, is
Colin, are you all right? You look like you're gonna pass out.
You're kind of blue over here.
When a decomps happen, you definitely lose all your muscles, and so part of the stuff you are cleaning up is you shit yourself, and so you're cleaning a lot. That's all mixed in with a nice soup mix, and it goes everywhere, and that's the thing. So if you have a room that's not perfectly level, you can just see if they're on a carpet or if they're on a hard. It just all goes to one, and it doesn't stop when it hits a wall. No. And you get the longer it is, the longer it will just keep going and find another area to keep going. Oh my gosh! And so you got to tear down walls. You got to get to play. It's just we had to gut this entire
layers back. The thing comes into play.
When in doubt, tear it out.
Yeah. So now this apartment. Can anyone live in it again, or is it?
They had to completely strip the entire thing. We didn't do the rebuild on it. We just all the demo. So we just stripped the entire thing from anywhere the sheetrock. Sheetrocks are really good where it's like to suck up all that fluid.
Well, so you guys go in, clean everything out, and then you go all the way down to
wherever as far as it goes.
Really?
I've heard stories.
Do you remember how long that took to strip it all out?
That's got to be a multi-day.
Oh, weeks.
Weeks.
Oh
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
It could take months sometime till you completely get everything gone.
Yeah. Wow.
because we can't stop until we know we've got all the bio. Because if there's something trapped somewhere else, summertime comes,
Yep.
it'll come. You can smell that. It'll just come back. It gets trapped
Wow.
and it releases. You'll know
Yeah.
it.
What's the longest job that you've ever been on and you've ever been on, Craig? Maybe they're the same one. What's like the, your typical length, but then what's like the most extreme longest one that's ever taken? Just it kept going and going and going and going.
I think the decomps are always the longest one. It's kind of a tricky question because the decomp part itself, the biohazard part, is usually real bad ones. I think the longest we've done is 8 or 9 days. And it wasn't going there every day either. You got to, maybe 4 or 5 days of cleaning, and then there's treating the house for odor.
Oh, okay.
But with our company in particular, we have a general contracting side that'll put stuff back together. So if you add those two together, I mean, it could be easy 4 or 5 months from start to finish.
Yeah. What about you, Craig?
Yeah,
same type thing.
That one was probably the longest here was when we brought it in a little bit ago. That mostly because it was so far away, a lot of travel time kind of. And that's the thing too. We go throughout Minnesota. We go as far as 4 or 5 hours one way. Way up north, we did a suicide, and we stay overnight. If that's the case.
Yeah,
we've got 3 projects right now we're working on that were all. I think they all happened in August. They weren't all decomps, but.
You want to get a little bit closer to the.
One of them was a homicide, and one was a hoarding decomp. And those happened back in August, and we're just starting to finish up the rebuild part of it. In fact, that's what we're doing today, was trying to touch those up.
So this general contracting thing, is that something that other companies offer too, or is that unique to your company where you guys do the come in, clean it up, and then rebuild after? Is that something other companies offer too?
Yeah, some of them do.
Well, some of them are those kind of companies, and they kind of do that, and they kind of do this more on the side.
Yeah, it's more reverse.
Oh, okay.
They're more contractors that, we're going to dabble in this biohazard.
Right. And just to get to that side of it.
And then we've had to come in and clean up their messes because they didn't do it right.
Didn't do it right, yeah. Wow.
And that's the thing, too, not to say the other company I was at, but coming here, I know, definitely the way Nate does it, the way Nate wants to do it is very thorough. I mean, I learned a lot more as far as, like you said, a lot of companies will just get out what they can see rather than just say, well, it's under the wall, we'll just kind of paint and just leave it. Well, no, we don't leave it that way. We do complete thorough. I mean, there's way more things involved with just removing what you actually see on the floor.
Yeah.
And like in the summertime, it's way worse because insects are involved. So what can happen is flies will spread throughout an entire house.
True, yeah.
So, like one thing we'll do, if there's a good decomp, almost every soft goods got to be thrown. Carpet throughout the entire house, where, maybe a lot of people out there, and we know this, that they don't do that.
Do they clean the carpet?
They won't even move it. They'll just move what's right there, and that's it.
Wow.
And they'll charge for that. I mean, we do a good job of saying what we're going to do, itemizing what we do, so it's all right there in black and white. Even though insurance is still covering it, we still show the people that we're not just saying, "Hey, remove decomp, give me $12,000." It's a big difference, and that's why I think we're talking about we're 5-star rating and how
gotta be transparent with
and
people.
that's a big difference, and everybody they like that because if you had somebody, hey, I want to fix your car, and they said fix car. $5,000, what does that mean? I'm paying $500 for my deductible, but you got to know what it is. And insurance companies again like us because we are transparent to where we can show what we're doing and what the steps that we're taking, and we're making sure that it's completely done and completely done right,
taken care of. Yeah. Well, while we're talking about all this stuff, what are some of the things you guys use, tools, techniques to get rid of blood? I mean, are you going in there with shop vacs and stuff like that? Or what are some of the things that you use to get rid of blood and brain material and puke and all the different things you run across? How are you getting rid of it?
Sure. Well, most of our tools, people are surprised, are just regular old tools from Home Depot or Menards. Or, nothing real fancy. The chemical side of things, we have professional restoration products that we use. It just depends on what we're targeting. A decomp's got the body fats wrapped into it along with the blood. A suicide might have skull fragments or dried brain material in a wall, so then it's another type of chemical.
Wow.
So yeah, if it's just feces, it's something else. But we have, I should say, I have changed a lot of our chemicals over the last year to try and be as green as possible, and just to try and reduce the toxic exposures on chemicals. So all of our disinfectants right now are considered a category 4, which are the least toxic. They're all actually botanical.
Gotcha.
So,
well, because I'm just curious as to like when you go in somewhere, I guess maybe more what I was wondering was like, because I'm picturing that you keep talking about the smell of everything, the smell. How do you get rid of that horrible, because I can't even imagine when you get everything out that there's still that after odor. What kind of things you guys use to just completely get rid of that?
There's a couple different, it depends on what we're trying, how bad it is and where it is.
Yeah.
The time of the year makes a difference. So we've got chemical odor treatments. One of them binds with the odor at a molecular level and overrides it. The other one oxidizes it. And those two can actually, we typically mix those two together because they're not, it's not like a chemical that's going to react with each other.
Yeah.
And then we have ozone machines, which is oxidizes odors as well. It's a gas.
ClO2.
ClO2 is another one.
So
and
spraying it in the air.
Nope, they don't. We set the equipment and leave.
Oh, really?
They're both ClO2 and ozone are both gases, but they work a little differently. And like ozone's effective, it isn't as effective in hot, humid weather, and it's not good for our machines. Whereas the chlorine dioxide loves humidity, so it just depends on the time of the year.
Yeah.
Is it a multifamily situation? Do we need to try and contain the gases as much as possible? We might use ozone versus ClO2. So
yeah, that's gonna be tough if it's in an apartment building or something where you can't have the stuff leaking out and then going into the other rooms. You guys ever have to block stuff off like doors and stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you guys show up, are you wearing like full body suits and
immediately when we show up? No,
no.
I mean, we first see what's going on in the
Scout it
scene.
out.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm first on scene, I'll talk to the homeowner, go in, see the situation, let them know what we're gonna do, let them know, how we're gonna the process, and just kind of see the whole understanding of it, and then usually if we have more crew, they kind of let back for a little bit, and then fill the green light, and we come in, and then we know what we can and can't do, and then we tell them, okay, best if you don't stay here. I mean, because obviously, if it's a decomp, nobody wants to stay there.
No.
But a suicide, stuff like that. I mean, if they want to stay in the house, it's fine. But it's it's kind of say we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah.
And if it's ripping out an entire room, ripping out an entire house, sometimes that's what you have to do. And so
so then you put the hazmat suits on.
Oh yes, yeah. We have an entire.
we try to be as discreet as possible.
Yeah.
So like our trucks are all very low key markings. Our uniforms, we have to wear, like Craig's got his yellow. We gotta have, there's safety regulations that we have to follow, but we still try and be discreet.
Gotcha.
You will very rarely see us wearing our biohazard suits out where anyone else can see us.
Yeah.
The only exception I can really think of is like a decomp or even a suicide if we have to bring personal property out to a dumpster.
Oh.
And it just doesn't work for us to de-suit. But that's really the only time I can think of that you would ever see us.
You don't want to draw too much attention from everybody in the area.
Yeah, when you get obviously if it's townhouses, which are huge, big, people, their neighbors are out all the time. What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah.
And that's the part where you got to be discreet too. I mean, we to the whoever we're working for, we can't tell them anything. They're like, "What happened?" Or did somebody okay? It's like, sorry, we can't say.
Can't talk about it.
And it's, legally we can't either because it's part of the agreement that we have with the homeowner or whoever.
Wow.
So it's. You like to, but as I say, it's like, no, you like to tell a person whatever so they're fine, but it's, you just, you don't want to piss them off, but we can't just sit there and say, oh, you should have seen it. It was blood everywhere. It was,
people usually know why we're there. They're just trying to find more details.
Get more information, Then they can go on Facebook and tell
Right, exactly.
You won't believe what Scenesley told us about this.
Yeah. Well, to kind of go back into some of the other services, I see you guys do Meth Lab. What was it? Remediation. What does that entail, and how often does that come up for you guys?
Meth Lab, that's one of our newer services. In fact, we just started doing that. Maybe it was a little over, maybe a year and a half ago.
Oh, really?
So we'll go in whether it's usage or a lab. So Minnesota's got specific guidelines on what is acceptable. Some states don't have any regulation on it, so that's a good thing for us.
Yeah.
We don't get them as much as you'd think.
Oh, okay.
We probably do more testing in cars than we do actually any cleaning in houses.
Huh.
So it could be someone used it and it contaminated the property, and that's
Yeah.
different in Minnesota than a lot of other states that they don't even consider usage an issue.
Oh, okay.
They only focus on the labs,
Yeah.
or it can be the lab.
Gotcha. But you've done labs before. You've
Yep.
done meth labs. So what does that look like for where you guys have to go in, and what kind of things do you have to do? Because I've heard if there's a meth lab in a house that you're technically never supposed to be able to live in that house again. Because the chemicals and the fumes and stuff are in the walls.
It needs to be gutted.
Completely down.
Yeah,
to
I mean, especially anything metal, the whole furnace, because meth likes
really?
to attach itself to anything metal.
Really? I didn't
So-
You can clean it, but it's usually
stuff,
not
it's-
worth it.
It's just too expensive.
Whole new
to go
HVAC,
down.
all the walls come down,
Wow.
things like that. If it gets that bad, yeah, it's true. I mean, it's kind of like a mold exposure. I mean, you're fine if you walk in there and just okay, there's a meth lab here, there's meth in here, but years of living in it and breathing in it, it'll just like mold.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can walk to a place with a little bit of mold and without rubbing the mold into the air,
Yeah.
you'd be all right. But
Yeah.
it's the overexposure for long periods of time. And he said that Minnesota's the only one that regulates that, so you could probably some states.
No, there's others like California, Colorado's a big one that regulates.
But there are other states that literally
There are other states that literally
they can
have
go
no-
live in it and not have it.
Yeah, no
Really?
regulations, or at least any regulations with the usage part of it. But that's newer.
But the bad part of that and tear gas is also another thing we do.
tear gas, yeah.
Is mostly this isn't covered by insurance, so that's the biggest thing. Is like it's
Out of
usually
pocket.
Out of pocket.
Yeah,
You're
and those
still
are cleaned
talking
up pretty much exactly the same
thousands.
way.
Both tear gas and meth labs are both the same.
Yep.
Well, except for you don't have to tear up all the HVAC.
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
clean it.
There's a little less. Well, I don't know. We've done some tear gas ones. We've done a lot of demo, but usually there's a little less demo with the tear gas jobs.
Tear gas would be pepper spray that the cops would like shoot into your house and it'd
Yep.
fume up and it.
Typically, it's like a CS gas, and they launch
Wow.
the canisters in there, and just the canisters can do damage. I mean, I've seen them go through siding and
Really?
insulation through walls,
Yeah,
destroy window frames. I
That's
mean, those
crazy.
things come out like
they'll
rockets.
shoot them in every window in the house.
Yeah,
To try to get you out of there.
Oh, they love it. I think that when they say,
Wow.
"Oh, we get to use tear gas," boom, boom, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
everybody got a window, good. Let's all pull them in.
Wow.
we had one that they did 5 or 6 canisters.
Oh my gosh.
We actually did one down in your area recently that
Yeah.
had maybe, I think that was 6 or 7. And then
Holy.
the very first one we ever did, I don't know if their stock was expiring or 46 canisters in this house.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that we were at that project forever.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that like tear gas was that destructive, like where you compare it to meth. Like I was not aware.
Well,
of
you
it.
can live. I mean, it's just an irritation where
Oh,
meth can
okay.
actually is bad for you. Tear gas.
Well, no, tear gas is bad
Is
for
it?
you. Yeah,
Actually,
long-term
long-term
exposure,
exposure?
It can cause cardiac issues.
Really?
but not as bad as meth, though.
Yeah,
Seriously?
yeah.
Wow.
I learned something new.
Wow, I'm learning all kinds of stuff. You're learning. That's crazy though. So now we got that out of the
And
way.
the other thing about tear gas that makes it so difficult, and I tell people, it's like taking a baby or a baby powder bottle and just squirting around. It's not actually a gas. It's actually
Powder.
a powder.
Oh, it's a powder.
yeah.
Huh.
And
Yellow
so
powder.
it gets everywhere.
And then when you probably react with it, it puffs back up and goes back
Yep.
in.
Yeah.
It's
you
just
can reactivate
so
it.
tiny, a little bit of water, a little bit of breeze just kind of puts it in the air, and then
Like if you've ever done a construction project and there's sheetrock involved, and you find that fine sheetrock mud
Yep.
dust everywhere, that's
Yep.
exactly like tear gas just goes everywhere.
Wow. Dang. So that gets pretty expensive for tear
yeah.
gas,
Oh, yeah.
meth
This is-
labs, stuff like that,
yeah.
especially if insurance isn't covering it.
Right.
Wow.
that's why
It's probably like cleaning that up more because you make more money probably than the.
yeah, but you
Depends
gotta
on
be
the time of year.
It's
Yeah,
not as fun
true.
to do because you got to be fully suited
Yeah.
and masked,
Oh.
and in the summertime,
You get hot.
oh yeah, I mean because
You guys have
constant.
oxygen tanks and stuff then, or for that? kind
No,
of
we
thing?
just wear a full face respirator with a cartridge
okay.
on it.
So you
But
got the certain.
the suits themselves, like when we do meth, we have to wear a chemical suit like they have in Breaking Bad, the yellow ones.
Oh,
those
okay.
are like plastic.
Yep.
And then the blue ones for biohazard or tear gas, those are semi-permeable. And then we've got white ones that are just dust ones, but we really only use those for hoarding jobs just to keep mouse shit off our clothes.
But those especially in the summertime, it's like it's a walking sauna.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
You get hot.
Wow. I grossed out some of the people that we were working with one because I took off my boots and literally dumped out about half a gallon up to my. I've never seen that before. I was like, yeah, I sweat. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna sweat doing this.
For sure. Oh my gosh. What about infectious diseases? I saw that was on your website. That's probably got to be rare to come up.
Yeah, you hear about, it's like the schools that get norovirus. And
Oh, okay.
we really don't get called for that a lot. A lot of the schools or facilities have internal janitors that maybe are trained or specific equipment for them.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like some kind of movie stuff or something, like it's spreading and you guys got to come in and stop it from killing all of humanity.
No, we would be after everybody was dead and it was all contained. Then we'd come in and, it'd be
Gotcha.
not when it was still hot. We'd be like, take care of this first.
Yeah.
Before
Do you
we come
guys
in.
watch like crime shows and is it pretty comparable?
They don't have to
like-
watch them. They're living.
I know, but like just to compare it to like how realistic the shows are to what you do.
You're just trying to see if
Well,
on TV, is it real or is it all
There really aren't
fictional?
any shows that what we do. There's a movie out.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's a couple movies.
Sunshine
Sunshine Cleaners is
Cleaners.
probably one of the most accurate ones.
Sunshine Cleaners.
And I hadn't seen that until actually I
Amy
started
Adams
working
is in
here.
that.
That's about crime scene cleanup.
Yep.
People. Huh. I'll have to
It's
try
about
it.
somebody who.
Was that a good movie?
It is a good movie.
It's all right.
Pretty accurate for Hollywood too.
I think it's pretty good, yeah.
Huh. We'll have to check that out because I'm a movie guy, so I'll have to check that out.
The only thing not accurate about it is that how quickly they were getting jobs for just starting up their job. It's like, how did you get these? I mean,
Where are they coming from?
Right. I mean, they were so quick. It's like, now we
Yeah.
got this one. Like, it's like, you just started this. You
Yeah.
should be getting like
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
Which actually, I think Sunshine Cleaning came out mid-2000s.
Yeah, about 2006, something like
Which
that.
is actually kind of cool. It's kind of like the Top Gun for our industry. The Top Gun, we got a lot of Navy recruits.
Tom Cruise isn't in it, is
Yeah, no, he's not in it. Amy Adams is, though.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
there's some big names, huh?
She's about the only big name in it, I think.
Huh. What is the worst thing you guys have ever seen? Like just the nastiest. We want to lay it on us. What's the worst, grossest, horrible? Because I mean, I know that you probably have a lot of things. It's tough to pick out one thing, but just something that stands out to you that is just horrible to think about.
I told
The
mine.
juicy stuff.
You can do yours. I
I think
mine.
the worst thing I've seen here isn't even related to suicide or a decomp. It was gross filth hoarding. So
Really?
there's hoarding where people have a lot of stuff, and then there's
Yeah.
gross filth where it's truly feces and urine. And it was a small apartment, it was a studio in Minneapolis, and the guy had a lot of mental health issues. So he got evicted, so his dad called us to clean it out. I think we'd only been open about a year. And I just remember walking in this apartment and the smell just knocked myself and Sean, who worked here at this, he was a cop, knocked us over. And we cleaned out the apartment. We get into the bathroom, and he had been pooping in his toilet till he filled it up. And then he moved to the bathtub and pooping and peeing. Although he was trying to use a 5-gallon pail for a while as well. So we cleaned out the bathtub. He had it corked. We unplugged it and then let the fluids drain out, washed that out. And then I remember looking down, and Sean was standing next to me, and he bumped the 5-gallon bucket with his feet.
No.
And it was like a brown liquid, and it was millions and millions of these little white maggots started swimming around in the bucket. And I, at a full face restaurant, I lost it. I couldn't smell it, but I could see it, and I fucking
horrible.
left. I'm like, I'm out.
How do you go back then and finish?
I gained my
gonna say.
composure, and when I came back in,
He's the owner. He had other people do it. Just straight up done.
well, Sean, which
Then he
totally
hired you.
surprised me. He's over in the toilet, freaking just pounding away at the chiseling or the turds in the toilet. And he had the thing all cleaned up by the time I came back. Like 15 minutes. He was a total rock star in that job.
Wow.
He still brings it up whenever I see him. Like 6 years later.
Are they not paying for plumbing, or why is the toilet?
I don't know.
For these hoarders, why
happens
is
quite
that?
a bit.
Why is that a thing?
Yeah, it happens. I mean,
You mentioned it. Why
I think
are
it's
they
an
not paying for
embarrassment
the...
factor that, especially at a pool. We just did one.
Yeah, they're afraid
a month
for
ago.
if you get the land. If they say something, obviously their house is already passed to where it should be for that particular apartment. So if they say, "Hey, landlord, my plumbing's not working," they got to see what
Yeah,
they're
they don't want to
living
draw
in.
attention to
So
themselves.
we get that all the
see.
time where people are like, "I have this issue I can't hit," because they're going to evict me if they see if I'm living like.
Yeah.
So
is it family members coming to you guys when when people are hoarding?
a lot of
or-
times, yeah, usually people won't.
They
do
won't
it
come to
themselves.
Yeah,
themselves,
usually it's
yeah.
family or friends that start the phone call, and we're like, look, we can't just go into people's homes, and we don't like forcing cleanouts. That's
Yeah.
not what we're about.
Yeah.
Ultimately, in the end, we want to see these people get help.
Yeah.
With a therapist too. So, but yeah, it usually starts with family or friends.
And do you find it where these people don't feel comfortable getting rid of their stuff, or is it easy to convince them that we need to clean this out? It's not healthy.
It all depends if the person's
Yeah.
there or not.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
times
mean-
they try to take, we know what's garbage. So it's not like, hey, do you need this used, Kleenex? Obviously it's things like,
Yeah.
this paper.
That's how the show is. Do you need this?
Well, the
Yeah.
show, that's where I'm getting it from, because the show makes it seem like it's so hard for them to get rid of stuff.
No, and that's-
it
that's-
is.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It just,
But the way they treat them in that is not, nobody would sit there and yell at them, you did this, this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
no, nobody
Yeah.
would want to do that. If you do that to your client, they're going to say, well, get the hell out. We don't want,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, who
This
does
goes
that
back
their
to where I
client?
said a lot of these people have a trauma, an unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
So you going in and forcing them to throw away the stuff that they see as their protection,
Yeah.
that's just re-traumatizing them. So that's what we want to minimize. So
Yeah.
that's why it's really important for us at See and Clean. We look at it a whole different way than a lot of our competitors. Is
Yeah.
we want to see them get help maybe first, or while we're doing a cleanup, or for sure afterwards. So my wife that handles kind of the community relations part, she's got materials and she can help people find resources before or after. So for us, hoarding is nothing like the TV show. It's completely different.
Wow. How'd you get into the hoarding side of it? Because we kind of turned to that. How did this whole thing come from? Was it just seeing that this is an issue?
Literally, no, yeah. When my business partner that is no longer here, when we started the company, it was probably 3 months after we started. Someone just called up and said, "Hey, my uncle's hoarding. Can you guys clean it out?" And we never really thought about it. So we went down and looked at his place and thought, okay, let's give this a shot.
Wow.
And shortly after that, the Minnesota State Hoarding Task Force started. And so we got connected with them, and that's where I met a lot of the therapists that,
Yeah. So you'll recommend them to people then? Or
yeah, and so
they
the
need help?
task force itself, this is actually important if anyone's listening that knows anybody that's hoarding, which a lot of people at least know somebody.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Hoarding Task Force is a nonprofit that we're part of. There's professional organizers. There's another cleanup company, therapists.
Gotcha.
And they have a resource list online that people can go and pull off. So it might be, especially rural Minnesota, it's really hard for people because there's less code. So we'll get calls from family and friends that, hey, my uncle's up by Brainerd and he's hoarding and we're concerned about his safety. Well, the county up there might not have any health codes, so they really have no teeth. Whereas here in the metro, there's a lot more.
Yeah, you have to follow this.
Yeah,
that,
and like I said, I don't like doing forced cleanouts, but sometimes there is the overall health of the person.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a situation where the next door neighbor's home, if it starts on fire, is the home
Oh my gosh.
15 feet away? Could it burn? So there's that to consider too. So it's a delicate dance.
Do you ever get calls from like health inspectors that we have this place and you guys got to come? It's building up onto the furnace and you got to get down here and clean
I
this
just
out.
did a place not too long ago that the city and the county was involved, and
Really?
they took this guy out of his house until we brought
Really?
it back to where he could live in it again.
So sometimes it is a forced. It has to be a forced thing.
Sometimes it has to be.
Yeah. Kind of a last resort. But
I'd say a lot of times though, it's pretty much people who had passed, and then they also go to their house and they have no clue that they were living this way. And I was like, okay, so and so's gone. Now their house, I knew this person lived this way.
Yeah.
Now we need something done with it.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll be doing a job Thursday, Friday. That's that situation. That
Really?
There was some hoarding, and he died and decomposed, and didn't show up for Thanksgiving. So the brother went over there and found him.
A lot of that goes hand in hand, decomp and then the hoarding same time.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of get something else, me and Colin are into like exploring abandoned places and stuff like that.
Okay.
And there was a house not far from our hometown. And
I was gonna bring that
you're
up
gonna bring this up too,
earlier,
because so there's a house not too far from where we lived. We were younger, and clearly the people living there were hoarders. There was just piles of stuff. The fridge was falling apart. There was so much stuff in it. The whole living room was covered. You had to crawl over mattresses, and one of us accidentally kicked over a pillow, and there was a cat that had been trampled underneath all this stuff, and it was decomposing underneath. Like, I don't know, old magazines and stuff. Do you guys ever find
stuff all the time?
That's horrible. So we were traumatized just by, because, they didn't know that they killed their own pet. They killed their own cat.
The part in here, and that probably is one of the worst for me. I'm being an animal lover myself. Is that the decomps, a lot of times it happens. And I tell people all the time, I'm on Facebook, and I have people, different things where I tell them this is what I do, and people, what can I, they'll ask all their questions about what I do, and it's like, well, I said the biggest thing if you're an animal lover, if you have animals and you live alone, you don't have somebody checking on you. We see it all the time. We'll come out, and since the person's dead, nobody cares for the animals. We come out there. There's always a dead cat or a dead dog that died because of that. Yeah. And I say, hey, leave because the biggest thing a cat can or a dog or an animal can live for a month without food.
Really,
but a week for the water. So I say, hey, if you live alone, leave your toilet seat open or something to where they can always get water that'll always be replenished, something like that. But no, it's definitely kind of goes hand in hand. We've had jobs where we had to remove the dead animals as well. And then now, if you want to, this is probably stuff a lot of people wanted to ask about me too, was does a pet actually eat its owner?
Oh, I see. I wasn't thinking that. But
and
they do.
But it doesn't. It's not. It doesn't. People say, "Well, cats will do it over dogs." There's really no one that'll do it over dogs. It depends on the situation. Always, a lot of times.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is if, obviously, just like any of us, if we get to a certain point, we'll do something you don't think you'll ever do. But like an animal will probably maybe start feeding on if there's an open wound or something open right away.
Oh, okay.
So if there's something that gives them a reason to, say if somebody obviously shot himself to death and sat there and decomped, then it would probably feed on that to then maybe work on the rest of the body. But I've had one where, oddly enough, it wasn't through us here. It was a different company where we went out and it was a decomp, and we take pictures. Especially we have to note how things looked before, during, after things for insurance reasons. Yeah. And a person had come back, and I was looking over their pictures that they just taken, and I said, so, they told me that there was a dead cat that obviously didn't eat the owner. There was a dead cat, decided not to. Yep. Well, they had a picture in this one bathroom, and I was looking at the picture, and I saw, so where's this cat? And she goes, what are you talking about? He didn't even know he took a picture. It was so dark that the flash went off and the cat was in the counter in the bathroom. Oh, no. So apparently there was another cat that was still in there. Yeah. That one was still alive because that one decided to feed on the owner, where the other one didn't and died. My God. So it depends on the animal. I mean, a lot of times. So we had to go back, pick up, and it was pretty much so malnourished and just, and we brought it in and they actually had it euthanized. It was
That's horrible.
It was way past it.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't even thinking that, like going to that.
I didn't think so, but that's part of the whole thing too. Yeah. It sucks being an animal lover. That's one of the things you got to go into. And I've had it to where they had no clue that person had so many. I mean, and hoarding that goes hand in hand too. Yeah. They always have tons of animals. Yeah. And that's usually one of the things. So going through it, they didn't even know that there was other animals around. And until we were cleaning it, and all of a sudden, here's another dead cat.
Adds to the smell too. I mean, you're walking around, there's dead animals.
The thing only smells so long as it decays. What you saw, if there's so long, it won't really smell much at all after it's all dried out and the maggots have got to it. It's nothing but So it won't be that bad, but it depends on how soon you catch it. So but
that's crazy. You said you had a story too, Nate, about that.
Yeah, so we did a hoarding clean out 2015. And one of the reasons we were there was there was an old refrigerator that they needed to pull out. It hadn't worked, and they don't know how long. So I'm cleaning out this refrigerator, and I found bratwurst in the package with an expiration date of 1992, if I remember right. No way. And it was still juicy and pliable. And I don't ever like to tell a story and tell the company's name. It sounds like Schmormel.
Okay, yep.
but I'm not going to outright say who they are.
You could still eat it. It was look like
Clearly put a lot of nitrates and preservatives.
Torment. God,
I can't
I'm
think.
stumped.
I don't know. I don't know.
I got an A, B, C.
That's crazy. And when we're going to some of these abandoned places, and we always like to open the fridge just to see.
I was gonna say that too.
It's the worst smelling part of the whole
I
house.
would
Hopefully you
say
guys are
fish.
wearing masks.
We do usually.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
do,
usually
yeah.
have respirators.
There's a lot of
bad stuff in it.
biotoxins.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When you open up the fridge, it creates a vacuum, so you might be
Really?
breathing.
I opened up the
don't
fridge
open
one
it.
time, and that was the only power to the house was the fridge was on.
Really?
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah. There's been some really weird, creepy things. A lot
Full
of, the
of
times
stuff too.
You'll find dead animals and stuff. That's the worst.
Dead raccoons usually.
Yeah, dead
from
raccoons is
coming in.
Yeah.
Squirrels, a lot of hoarding squirrels can get in houses and they
Really?
wreak havoc. Oh yeah.
I always find it creepy when we go to like a suicide or homicide and the freaking TV is still on. Like a week later and the TV's still on.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
haunting almost like well, and I was reading on your website, there's a scale, the Institute for Challenging Disorganization scale. What is the scale, and how do you guys use that to determine what you're going to do? Or do you not really?
Nope, we use that. That's actually one of the things that was developed by that Institute for Challenging Disorganization. God, I can't think. I want to say it was probably 10 years ago, maybe. But that's become pretty standard in the industry throughout the country. So I can call up a guy in Colorado and say, hey, we're dealing with a level 4 hoarding situation. And he or she has a really good idea of what we're dealing with.
Really?
So the further you go down the scale, the closer it goes. Like I mentioned before, you kind of got that gross filth factor.
Yeah.
So you get into the 4s and 5s, you're dealing with the feces and the mouse and the dead animals.
The rotting of the house.
Rotting of the house itself. You know, the furnace probably hasn't worked.
Yeah.
It's almost you can't walk in it because it's
Doesn't necessarily mean the whole house is. Bathrooms and kitchens tend to be higher levels than
Really?
the rest areas. So you might have a level 3 in all the bedrooms and the living room, and then maybe it's a level 4 in the kitchen or the bathroom.
As I say, technically, what causes what a hoarding is pretty much you can get as low as it can look decent, but it's not being able to use everyday items like a sink or the stove or your bathroom.
Yeah.
At that point is where you start getting into the levels, saying that's where hoarding is. There's so much stuff that you can't utilize the sink, you can't utilize and do the normal everyday.
Yeah.
You can't utilize your bathroom because it's so bad to get to it, or the stove is so much stuff piled on it across where it's not, things like that. So it's
Well, and that's probably what else you thought too, Colin, why you thought I was going to bring it up, because they mentioned the toilet at this house where we found the dead cat. The toilet was overflowing with poop, and the whole tub was full of poop. And then when you guys mention it, we're like, holy cow, this is the same exact.
There was a room for toilet paper, like used toilet paper.
Yeah, they had, because they couldn't flush the toilet, so they just collected their toilet paper, put it in bags, and put it in a room.
We did a job. It was probably one of the grossest jobs I did. It was for a bank, and the girl in there. The place was nasty and full of spiders.
A bank?
It was a foreclosure.
Oh, okay.
And they were the city was like, we're done. We're tearing this thing down. They gave the bank a week to figure it out. Well, they quick called us and went down there. And first of all, I hate spiders with a passion.
Yeah,
Like I can
too.
handle
Me
any
too.
pretty much spiders for me. They were everywhere in this house. In the bathroom, she had been pooping in the tub, and we thought it was dirt. And one of my employees went in there to shovel out the dirt, and here it was just a tub full of shit, and she broke the crust, and it was all liquid underneath there.
Oh my god.
And then to top it off, this girl had been using her tampons and sticking them in the medicine cabinet. So when we opened up the medicine cabinet, it was just full of used tampons.
That was at that house too.
Yeah,
There was I don't know what it is with all these people. It's all the same kind of thing. But there was at this house too. There was bloody tampons, not just in the
That
bathroom.
house ended up burning down.
Yeah,
It's because of the tampons probably spontaneously busted.
that's what we were about to say. Exactly.
all the methane in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when there's like suicides and stuff, and there's, I'm sure this is where you see it the most. Do you ever find like just massive amounts of blood pooled up and leaking into other things?
Suicides will give you
man.
usually or homicides. It all depends on how it's done. I'd say stabbings could probably give you the most
Really?
blood. Well, because stabbings are usually here where the bloods
Yeah.
come right out. Suicide's usually in the head, and it's most of the blood are right there, and then all depends on how they fall. I mean, we've had suicides that I'm not gonna name specifics, but a guy shot himself and stayed upright, and all the blood kind of just pooled down, and he shot himself in the chest, and he stayed upright, and no blood got almost anywhere. I mean, it all stayed up, and I mean, it can really vary. I mean, but human holds a lot of blood, and you can get a good stabbing. Like I said, with a couple we've done, that the entire room is just completely covered. I mean, and
that's horrible.
It's thick.
Have you guys ever gotten called to like a homicide where like the body's still there, or is the body always removed?
Pieces of the body.
Yeah, the body's. There's only one time in all the years that I know we were there before the body was removed, and that was because we knew the property manager who called us first. And I'm like, dude, call the freaking police.
Yeah.
And it was in a nearby
too.
city, so we drove up there because we knew we were going to do the work. And sure enough, the medical examiner hadn't been there yet. So,
oh my gosh.
Of course, the medical said, "You guys want to help?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good."
Are you allowed to tell specifics? Like the craziest story that you told me was the one, the stabbing of the two people, one in the head in the closet.
Head in the closet.
Yeah.
That is the goofiest. This is I don't know if he's allowed to say this.
Well,
one,
this was a crime, so it's a
we don't
little
gotta
less.
mention
Little
names
less.
or
Yeah, no,
anything.
this couple that, yeah, we suspect there's a little meth involved, but they had an on and off kind of relationship.
Oh my god.
Well, from what we gathered by the crime scene, is she was giving him a blowjob. And decided she was going to stab him, and she went up to stab him
in the dick, right?
And tried to cut off his willy.
Yeah, did something on that.
And he grabbed the knife, which was a fillet knife, by the blade,
gosh.
and was able to get it from her and fucking stabbed her right in the head. And well, she had gone into, I should say, she ran into the closet first, and he broke down the closet and stabbed her in the head. Well, she died. He managed to get out of the apartment naked and was holding on to whatever was left of his pecker and was bleeding all the way down the hallway and passed out in the front of the building.
Oh my god.
That was one of the craziest. And I could tell that I could tell this because the edge of the bed, there's a perfect outline of his inner thighs.
Really?
And a little bit of his buttocks on the bed. So you could tell that that's where, and then it all made sense based off her stabbing in the head and the knife from what, we had heard from the sheriff's department.
So then you have to go out and the whole hallway has to be ripped up and
yeah. So in that case, we had to go there twice. The first part was we had to clean the hallway in the common area because it was an apartment complex. So that was priority.
Yeah.
And then they locked down the crime scene for about 2 weeks, and then once they released that, then we went and finished the inside of the unit.
That is just horrible. I couldn't even imagine knowing or seeing it's one thing, but knowing about it and knowing what happened, and then going in and then having to.
So you're worried about that? I'm worried about my Johnson getting cut off.
Well, that too, but
You worry about that every day.
that's
The blood's easy. I don't know.
Have you guys ever found? I don't want to ask too many questions about this, but have you ever found fingers and stuff sitting around, or do they have to take all that?
Well, they'll take what they can see. Like I said, when I found all that other piece, I say your wife found eyeballs.
What?
Jaw.
Oh yeah,
Full on jaw.
Suicides, like I said, when gunshot or shotgun.
Yeah.
I mean that goes everywhere. Like I said, you could find teeth. We did this one up north a while ago, and I guess the cops had told us that there was nothing left of her head. It was completely gone, which can happen quite a bit. So that they came in, you could see exactly where she went down, where she did the initial shot, and there was nothing left of her head. She just came in, she was completely headless, and it was all over the place. And so they took what they can, but believe me, I mean, I found intact jaw lines intact. I mean, and like I said, the suicides are the worst because it's just a shame. This person was a beautiful 21-year-old girl. Mm. That's what was weird about this. It's normally it's usually guys that are doing this, but
super. In fact, that was the one and only in all the years that it was a girl that used a gun.
Yeah, I would say the suicide rate is just mostly male. It's almost 100%.
Well, usually gun related suicide.
Oh, gun related.
Yeah. Women usually, I'd say probably pills. And they cut themselves.
Cutting, yeah.
It's I could do that. Not that I really do kill myself anyways, but it's really easy just to pull a trigger. You're done. But to actually go through and cut, that to me, I just couldn't see. I couldn't do that.
Your wife found eyeballs.
Well, actually, we were doing it together, and I was something behind a table saw. He did it in his workshop, so it was already disaster because there's tools and wood pieces everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
And I moved the table saw, and I saw like the back of like a white jelly looking thing. And so I picked it up, and so the iris was down on the ground, and when I picked it up, flipped my palm over, the iris like fell back into the eyeball. It was actually pretty cool.
How did that happen? How did the eyeball come out? He shot himself?
Yeah, he shot himself in the head. Just
Pieces go everywhere.
And the eyeball just flew out.
So like I said, when the coroners get there, whoever's taking the body, they just take what they can kind of see. They won't sit there forever and look, because stuff goes everywhere. And you get a house that has a lot of stuff lying around, clothes here and there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it can hide. And
they don't search for it.
No.
They just grab what they can see.
And teeth is the biggest thing. I said you could find teeth 5 rooms away. It can bounce because that trajectory of just shooting out could go so many places. And teeth being hard, and it depends on how hard the walls are. If it's a good enamel, that could just bounce right off like that concrete, and it can go anywhere. So I
found so many jaws. I can't even.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Jaws are super common.
With the teeth intact, or just you can see the bone?
The whole thing. Wow. One big piece. Yeah.
Where's the strangest spot you've ever found, like a jaw or teeth or something? Have you ever open up a toaster or like shake the toaster and jar?
Oh yeah. Well, the thing with me, like the one we were just talking about earlier, the woman, young girl, they had a big dog, and oddly enough, a big chunk of her brain was actually sitting in the dog bowl.
No.
It's like right there, and it's like, okay.
I found pieces. It was a high-powered rifle or a hollow point suicide. I found it. Let's see, it bounced off 5 walls and ended up on the other side of the house. Like we had no reason to even think about cleaning that. I was going to use the bathroom, and I was like, walked by and thought, that's weird. It kind of looks like brain because it's like a pinkish.
Yeah.
And it brain is like a spitball. It just sticks on anything, and if it sits there long enough, it turns into like concrete. So when we have to remove it, we use an enzyme, and we put a spitball of enzyme on the brain, let it get softened, and then we'll just take a paint scraper up. But I happened to notice, and I thought, that's really weird. And then I looked, and I started following. I could see the splats off every wall.
Oh my god,
so that was
crazy.
That was one of the craziest ones with spatter that
brain. I just can't imagine seeing brain matter
that's
splatter
very common
on something. Like I
don't know how you guys do it.
I don't either. I'm wondering.
I don't know how you guys do what you do here. So.
I tell people it's macaroni noodles on the floor and ketchup.
I think of Kool-Aid.
If you look at it as an inanimate object, it makes this way easier. And you know what? People ask how you do it too, and frankly, look, I care. I'm sorry that someone died, but I don't care in the sense that I don't want to know anything more than I have to.
Yeah.
I don't want to know their name. I don't know what they look like.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't even care if it's a guy or girl. I'm just there to clean up this ketchup and the macaroni noodles. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and it's probably easier if you don't attach someone to it. Then you're thinking more of it just.
Well, and that's what led me to my PTSD as a medic.
Yeah.
I'm there with a person who's dying, and it makes it so much worse when you know details.
Yeah, and you're in front of the person. Where a lot of times if we say we try to tell the people to not be in the house or leave the room where we're not, and then we know we're never going to say anything bad in front of the people but we try to take it light. I mean, we try to just make light of the situation just to kind of keep the whole thing, and not that the fact that somebody's just ended their life right there, and it is a big deal. But if you sit there and dwell on it so much, that's where you start getting the PTSD. You start thinking each job, and you start thinking about why it happened, why they did. I mean, there's no understanding of why people do what they do, and there's no understanding. I mean, the whole entire thing with depression and how people go through. You don't know what they were going through at the time. No. So I mean, you can never put yourself. But in order to keep us going and keep things. I mean, that's what we try to do. We don't try to laugh in front of the people. No. And it may be by something completely different, but we just try to keep it light. And everything's a little different, obviously, each type of situation. But that's just how. Like I said, paramedics are the same way. Yeah. Once they're not in front of the people, they keep things light just to keep things going. Because like one of the toughest things for me I did was in Apple Valley, and it was a long time ago it happened, but we were doing the end of it where a guy shot his entire family and then killed himself. And it was so bad, there was so much blood in the middle of it. It went through all the floors and into the basement and through everything. And I had to go there towards the end and see the whole thing, and just felt so spooky that this happened in this house. And
Yeah.
so things like the homicides like that, I mean, just, I guess that's probably the toughest thing. But kids are the other thing too. Luckily,
Oh, yeah.
I think the youngest is maybe 12, I think, that I had, where somebody,
horrible.
he shot himself in the neck. I think maybe missed, and it just bled out. But, it's just, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's tough to talk about, but you guys are doing it for the positive to help people go through such a horrible time in their life when most of them probably feel helpless. They don't know what to do. You guys are offering that.
And the same
help.
thing as suicide, as the hoarding, we give people, because obviously if somebody's spouse just killed themselves,
Yeah.
we know that person is likely to really be depressed and have the same feeling, and so we have people that we have them contact, and we've had jobs too where it's part of, it's not really part of our job, but it is, to where we sit there and talk to the person and let them vent and let them cry, and and it's all part of the job.
Yeah.
And we do whatever we can to make them feel, you're not alone. You have reasons to live. Don't let this bother you. Don't make it about you.
Yeah.
The person had issues. The person had obviously some sort of reason, Don't make it worse by, have another thing. There's always kids involved too, and that's the toughest thing.
Tough, yeah. Dang. Well, thank you guys for doing what you do and helping people out. We'll just kind of finish it off here with a plug for your website, your phone number. Maybe we can give the information for the, you were talking about the hoarding website, the nonprofit. We can leave that information as well.
Yep.
If you just want to plug some of the things here for people, if they do need your services, I'm sure there are people out there that don't really know where to go for help, and this might be the opportunity for someone who might be listening or watching. So if you just want to plug here, and we'll kind of finish it off then.
Sure. Well, our website is you can go to Scene, like Scene of the Crime,
Yep.
SCENE. People always think it's STEAM, but it's scenecleaninc.com or scenecleanmn.com.
Okay.
It's the same place. The hoarding, Minnesota Hoarding Task Force, you know what? You might have to just Google it.
Put that one in there.
It's like MNHTF, I think, .org.
If you search it on Google, if you just search
if you do Minnesota Hoarding Task Force,
it'll pop
and you know
up.
what I gotta say too, if someone truly wants to go to the Hoarding Task Force sites, please make sure you're not looking at a Google AdWord for a competitor,
Oh,
because
okay.
there's one of our competitors that pretends that they're the task force to gain
Really?
it trust me, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
It does.
But
That's horrible.
go down past the ads and go down to the actual Minnesota Hoarding Task Force. It's if you click on it, you'll know right away. There's a picture of the current members of the task force, and it's got a blue background. And
Gotcha.
so, but yes.
Perfect.
So scenecleanmn.com and Minnesota Hoarding Task Force.
Well, thank you guys
Phone
so
number?
much. Yeah, phone number as a safe.
Well, the toll-free number is 855-643-0911.
And you said it's a 24-hour thing, but for emergencies only.
Well,
Don't call
like I
these
said,
guys
I
in the
mean,
middle of the night.
it could vary.
Yeah.
What's considered an emergency, really? I mean,
Yeah.
at the time it has to do with us, it's really the
Someone
person's
else's
gone.
It's someone else's emergency. No
Yeah.
matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Our phone system will sort that out. So it
Gotcha.
depends on what they're looking for. You
Yeah.
know, if it's hoarding, we're not answering the phone at 2 a.m. for hoarding. But we will for trauma.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you. I've learned a ton of stuff. Didn't know much about this at all. Been wanting to have.
It's a very interesting topic.
It is, and there's so many
Topics.
different directions to go, especially when you guys cover such a wide spectrum of jobs.
Right.
You know, where I might have just thought originally it was just crime scene cleanup, and then you get hoarding and meth labs.
some of the better stories are on the hoarding side.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, we want to thank you guys for letting us come here and do it here. This is a special thing to come up and do it in your actual space. You're inviting us into your property instead of coming to Mankato or
glad
something.
you guys could come up.
Yeah, so thank you very much. We will put the their website, the Minnesota Hoarding Task Force, and everything else in the description, along with the phone number. So if anyone needs that, it's there. We'll be back next week. Thank you very much. This is the Ethan Clerc Podcast Show.